Hello everyone, this is Damien from Chess Optics and Happy New Year. I'm glad everybody is on board. I hope all of you are healthy and doing well. Um, what I want to present to you today is a game that I found rather fascinating and amusing. It's a game between Tal and Johan Hjartson. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I titled this game Song of the Dancing Knights, if you check the thumbnail. I find that the game is very instructive on positional play, and I just thought that the accent of the game, what stood out to me was how the knight from B1 in 12 moves in the game, a total of 12 moves, that the knight delivered such a powerful impact on the game. And you know, Mr. Hjartson actually resigned after some time, I believe, or what was it, 43 moves after the knight goes to G8 and delivers a check. So with that said, I'm going to do my best to give you a presentation of this game and some of the features that I like. Again, I'm not an IM or GM, but I am someone who is an avid student of the game of chess, and I just love to do this. So if you have any suggestions on how this is presented, you can leave them in the comments below. And if you like it, I hope you subscribe. So the game started off with Tal playing, his first move is E4. Mr. Hjartson, he plays E5. Tal plays knight to F3. In response to that, we have knight to C6. Then we have here the move of bishop to B5. This is the beginning of the Ruy Lopez. A6, challenging the bishop. The bishop backs up to A4. The knight comes out to F6. White castles. Bishop to E7. Rook to E1. Pawn to B5, threatening the bishop. The bishop backs up to B3. Black now castles. C3, giving the bishop some room to retreat if necessary, also potentially preparing to push the D5 pawn. Black plays D6. White plays H6. Excuse me. White plays H3, sorry. The knight comes to A5, threatening the B3 bishop. Bishop goes back to C2. Black plays C5. White plays D4. Black queen goes to C7. White plays knight B to D2. Now, this is the knight that I'm talking about. Pay attention to this knight, because this knight is very, very active throughout the whole game. And it's the reason why I actually titled this the Song of the Dancing Knight. It just made me think about a knight dancing, and it just kind of like inspired me for the title of this video. The bishop goes to D7, Black's response to knight B to D2. This knight is going to travel again. This is move 2 to F1. And we have from Black, C takes D4. White responds with C takes D4. Black plays rook to C8, threatening the C2 bishop. The knight again comes to E3, defending the bishop. This knight from A5 goes to C6, preparing to try and add more pressure to the C2 bishop. Pawn pushes to d5. So a distinct quality of the game has emerged from this move. This is now a closed position. White's pawns aim at the queen side, indicating that the majority of his play will be in this direction. This is where he has a space advantage. Black, on the other hand, his pawns aim toward the king side, indicating that he'll be playing in that direction. As you pay attention to the game, these qualities will show themselves. Black plays knight to b4, threatening the bishop. Now the bishop has 3 attackers, so the bishop just backs up, came out of trouble. We have a5 from black, a3 from white, knight backs up to a6, pawn pushes to b4. Now, black plays g6. So you may be asking yourself, what happens if instead of g6, say black decides, he thinks he has a free pawn, so he decides to capture. White captures. Now black captures the pawn, but black has just lost his knight in the process of doing this, because if the bishop decides to go to d2, the knight has no retreat square to go to. It can't go here because of the rook, so a6 is covered. It cannot go to c6 because there's a pawn here. And well, of course, if the queen decides to try and defend the knight here, well, the same thing occurs. This queen comes to b3, and the knight is lost. There's 2 attackers, 1 defender. So none of this stuff is what black desired to do, and he chose a more wise option, which is to go and play g6. So this is what black did. He played g6. And in response to that, white plays bishop to d2. We have a capture, a takes b4, a recapture, a takes b4, and we have the queen moving over to b7, defending the a6 knight from the attack of the rook. Bishop goes to d3. So you see what I was saying here. The pawns are aiming on this side, and you see a lot of aggression from white going towards black's queen side, because this is where the pawn structure indicates that the play is going to take place. The knight from a6 goes back to c7, trying to add some defense to the pressured b5 pawn. We have here knight to c2. This knight is moving again. Okay, after knight to c2, where are we here? We have knight to h5 from black, right? Bishop to e3, white plays. This bishop and this rook aim at the h7 square, another move on the queen side. Rook to a8, trying to counter that pressure on the h7 square that I just mentioned. Queen to D2. Rook captures A1. Now, most people would probably recapture with the rook, right? Coming back to the H file. But remember I spoke about this knight, and the name of this is Song of the Dancing Knights. So he captures with the knight. The idea behind this is because Tal wants to bring this knight to this square, and he's already eyed a path. The path would be knight from A1 to B3, A5, C6. All of this is queenside play. All of this is predicated upon the pawn structure that was set out when the D5 pawn was pushed early in the game. And from black, as I mentioned, F5, we have him playing according to where his pawns aim, which is the F5 push that he just played on the king side. So everybody's playing along with their respective plans. Black plays bishop, I keep saying black. White plays bishop to H6, threatening the rook. The knight comes back to G7 to block. White plays knight to B3, headed for that C6 square. Black plays pawn to F4, closing the position on the king side. And we have Tal sticking to his plans of knight to A5. Queen goes to B6, moving out of the threat, the danger. Rook goes to C1. We have rook to A8. Queen to C2. This knight goes to E8. Queen to B3. And we have bishop to F6. Finally, the knight arrives at C6. Black plays his knight to H5. Now, white plays queen to B2. This is a very, this move is a positional depth, or should I say it has positional depth to it. Tal has already anticipated that this diagonal is going to open up in his understanding of the position. And that's just what happens in this game as we pay attention. But to make this move now, when there's a bishop on F6, a pawn on E5, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be any activity for the queen on this diagonal, really requires some depth of positional understanding here. If you look at these pieces, just if you look at the black army, in any instance, that you would, if you're paying attention to the mobility available to the pieces, this knight is blocked here, this piece really has nowhere to go. The black army is discombobulated. Meanwhile, white has a firm grip in the center, a space advantage on the queen side, an outpost of a knight on C6, a queen that has just stepped to a beautiful diagonal, but it's not apparently obvious at the moment, but it will become later on. And I think, honestly, white just has a beautiful position. Bishop to G7. Bishop takes G7. And we have black taking G7. Now look at this. Right? First of all, the king went to the white queen went to B2. And now we have the king sitting on the opposite end of the queen. Right? The only thing protecting this king from immediate danger on this diagonal is this pawn. Isn't that amazing? Like the depth at which he saw his position. So what we have next from this other move, wait a minute, this other move here that Tal plays is one where I just want to pause for like 5 seconds. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Can you find Tal's next move? This is move 36. I'm just going to count to 5. Okay, for those of you who are able to find it, wonderful. You think just like Tal. But for those of you who are just watching and to enjoy the show, Tal plays rook to c5, right? So what's the idea behind this move? Obviously, if you take this rook with the pawn, guess what? That queen that went to b2 a little while ago will now potentially have access to capture this with check, and this diagonal will come open, right? For those of you out there who don't want to get into all the analysis and you just want to enjoy the show. But I would suggest that you use your engines and look at this position. I just want to show you the game. So this game shows that Black is very smart, and he's not gonna go for, you know, this rook offer at all. He sees what's going on and he just moves out of the way. Queen to a6. Tal won't be denied as usual. Rook takes b5. Knight goes to, excuse me, knight goes to c7. And this knight is actually threatening the rook on b5. So the rook vacates by coming down to b8. So again, what is going on here? Right? The rook comes to b8 with the intention of controlling the back rank, right? But something else has occurred. When this rook moved to b8, it opened up a discovery from the bishop onto the black queen. So Black is pretty much forced to capture the bishop, which is what he does. Now we see the depth of this move, which is amazing. The dancing knight captures on e5, putting the king in immediate danger and also attacking the queen. White tries to play it, Black tries to play as actively as possible. Queen to e1, delivering a, excuse me, d1, delivering a check to the white king. King to h2. Rook to a1. Uh-oh. It really looks like Black is getting ready to mate White. But this is not the case. At all. Not at all. Not even close. It looks very, very dangerous for White. But if you look here at the power of this move, begins to show itself now. 5 more seconds. What do you think Tal played? I mean, he's threatened with mate on the move. What does he do to get out of it? 5 seconds. Time is up. For those of you who just want to enjoy, we have knight to g4, ladies and gentlemen. A discovered check. Look at that. Remember when this queen first went here, there was nothing, everything was blocking and it was nothing like this. Now we have an open diagonal. That is depth of positional understanding. It's like he knew this diagonal was going to open up, and it did. The king moves over to f7. The knight delivers the check again on h6. This king goes over to e7. Look at this knight. Look at where it started and look at where it is now. Ladies and gentlemen, this game is what I call the Song of the Dancing Knight. It's just amazing. Even without, all of the computer engine analysis and grandmaster annotations, you can enjoy this game by looking at this feature. This feature with the queen opening up the diagonal, almost, she didn't do anything. It's just like she just stayed there from the time she got here to now, and just enjoy how beautiful this actually is. I'm going to leave you with this position. I'm going to say again, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. For those of you who enjoyed this game, I'm glad I brought you something of value. And if you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. I hope you like and subscribe. This is Chess Optics. Again, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.